It's all about the deal at Brunswick Auto Mart. Save big this month with deals like this. Don't miss the Make This the Summer event and lease a 2022 Ram 1500 Bighorn Quad Cab Night Edition 4x4 with 20-inch blackout wheels for just $375 a month. Or lease a 2022 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab for just $397 a month. Brunswick Auto Mart. Car buying made truly simple.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another Believeland Prep Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Sleds. My co-host, as always, Mr. Joe Yule. How you doing, Joe?
Yeah, Kev, I'm fantastic. I mean, I'd be a little better if our Browns won.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
You know,
we don't want to talk about that.
Leave that for another conversation.
Yeah, we'll leave that for
when we're not on the air.
We'll leave that for Brown and Orange Weekly to dissect tomorrow.
Yeah.
So another good week of games. What do you want to start us off with?
Definitely, probably the biggest upset. I mean, I wouldn't have saw St. Ed's losing at all this year. I thought they could make a run for like a national championship rank. But I mean, they lost 31-28 to a very, very good and talented Massillon Washington team. They St. Ed's came into the game 4-0. Massillon Washington came in 3-1. Still very mad over that week 1 loss that they hosted Cincinnati Moeller for, or Archbishop Moeller, from Cincinnati area. They lost that game 31-49 in week 1. And, they've really handled every other game comfortably. You can definitely tell they're kind of on a little revenge tear in a way. They showed up to Edison. They invited Eds down to come play them with, Coach Lombardo and everything. And they handled their business. And it was a very chaotic end of the game, at Massillon, Washington scoring with about 16 seconds, I think, left on the clock, and making it a 5-point game there. And then St. Ed's, making it a 3-point game, having a chance to put it on ice at the end of the game, and Eds blocks the PAT to keep it in the 3. Making it a little interesting there. And I think the medicine to what happened is really that they were able to, Eds was able to run the ball. I mean, they ran for 229 yards and 2 touchdowns total and distributed the rock between 4 different players. Their quarterback had 34 rushing yards. So, he had a very good day as well on the ground. He went 12 for 21 with 166 yards and a touchdown. He took 2 sacks, but, Massillon's offense was just, it was firing on all cylinders with Walsh and Hudson, having 18 carries for 130 yards. And their quarterback, Jalen Slaughter, going 18 for 32, big lefty out there slinging it for 295 yards and 3 touchdowns, and his longest pass being a 70-yard touchdown. And a big day from Ardell Banks. He had 5 receptions for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he's a quick guy. I'll tell you that. They have a very solid team. They have a very solid team. We got the opportunity to have a 7-on-7 against them in the summer. And, you could see the athletes and the show that they were displaying. And, I'm not a huge guy of 7-on-7s, but you just know when you see a guy go play like how they did. So, I think Massillon's going to make a deep run in the playoffs this year. And I don't think you've heard less of Eds, obviously, either.
Yeah, it's an impressive win. And, definitely a surprise to see St. Ed's go down with all the talent they have. So looking at Rootstown, they traveled to Conneaut. Rootstown took a 4-0 record in there, and unfortunately for them, took their first loss 33-14, dropping them to 4-1, and Conneaut moved to 4-1 on the season. Conneaut got the ball first, went down and scored, and then in the ensuing kickoff to Rootstown, Rootstown fumbled. Conneaut recovered and ended up scoring again. So, I mean, they were down 14-0 before their offense even touched the ball. And then Conneaut ended up scoring again. Rootstown fumbled at the 3-yard line, gave the ball back to them, and they were down 21-0 before the first half. Cody Kuntz had a pretty good game for Rootstown in the loss, 34 carries, 185 yards, and a couple touchdowns. Conneaut quarterback Max Gleason had a really good game. Throwing the ball, he was 6 out of 8 for 135 and a touchdown, and also put up 161 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. So 4 touchdowns overall for him. And Conneaut overall at 447 yards total and 14 points off turnovers. That was a big difference in the game there. Rootstown couldn't take care of the ball, and it came back to bite him.
Yeah, we get back into Portage County here. And, we see a tough Ravenna team, getting beat very, very easily, it seems like, against a Streetsboro team, 45-7. And, we mentioned how it's, Coach Callahan's first year, taking over for, in my opinion, one of the best coaches of all time in Northeast Ohio, Jim Lenardi. And, they hosted Ravenna, ended up winning 45-7. Streetsboro came into this game 2-2, so they were even looking over to get over that 500 hump. And Ravenna came into this game 2-2 as well, having the same goal, and taking it 1 week at a time and going out there. And from what I saw on the Ravens side, you talked about that running back, Kevin Mikel Williams. And I think that's why Streetsboro handled this victory that well is, Mikel Williams had 6 carries for 9 yards.
Wow.
And then, they have, you talked about a little bit of a running back tandem when you saw them play twice, because I believe it's twice now you've seen Ravenna play. Yeah. And, Pavel Henderson, right? 12 carries, 43 yards and a touchdown. Not the greatest day when you're getting 12 carries. So, in 19 rushes, the Rockets held the Ravens to 52 yards and only 1 touchdown. And passing wise, both Mikel and Pavel had passes. Mikel led the way with 109, and Henderson only had about 8 yards passing. He went 1 for 2. But I think it was a very difficult win for the Ravens, and I think that Streetsboro had a great game plan coming into it. And Streetsboro's running back Preston Hopperton had 11 rushes, 55 yards and a touchdown and 3 touchdowns. And really just across the whole entire board, they just had a huge rushing attack. I mean, they had 8 different guys who carried the rock for them, and that totals for 48 carries for 291 yards and 4 touchdowns. So, that right there's your victory. And then their quarterback as well went 7 for 12, 134 yards, no interceptions and 2 touchdowns, Colby Benjamin. So, it was a handily victory for Streetsboro Rockets. And I think the medicine to getting that win was, stopping Ravenna's run game.
Yeah, it was an impressive offensive output for sure. So looking at Coach Adorni's Mogadore Wildcats, they traveled down to Lucas, trying to avenge their loss to Lucas from last season when they came into Mogadore and beat them. And they did, 18-14. It was a big defensive battle, especially in the first half. It went right down to the end of the second quarter before Mogadore finally got on the board on a 5-yard reverse pass. Extra point was blocked, so they led 6-0 at the half. Lucas actually scored the first 2 touchdowns in the second half and took a 14-6 lead on a direct snap running back to Logan Toms for a touchdown after forcing a turnover on downs with Mogadore. And then they recovered a fumbled kick return, and running back Andrew Finello scored from 49 yards out. But Mogadore put the hammer down defensively in that fourth quarter. They got 2 rushing touchdowns from Mason Williams in that quarter, ended up taking the lead in the game. Lucas fumbled 3 times in the fourth quarter, which obviously killed him.
Awesome.
The Mogadore quarterback, Zeke Cameron, was 5 of 11, 108 yards. I mentioned Mason Williams had 3 touchdowns overall for the game. For Lucas, Andrew Smullen, their quarterback, was 4 of 8 for 32 yards, and the running back, Andrew Finella, had a nice game, 14 carries, 172 yards. So Mogadore gets a little revenge.
Yeah, no, and then we had our main man, Brady Hamilton, out at the Hudson game in Wadsworth. Hudson's defense was what happened with it, and I'll take Brady's title for his recap article that he had. Hudson's defense defense difference maker and 17-7 road win over Wadsworth. So, Hudson coming into the game with a 4-0 record, and Wadsworth coming into the game with a 3-1 record, and Hudson just kept on rolling through Wadsworth and had a 10-point victory. Hudson's going to go on the road for another two game stretch against Brecksville, and then they're going to play 5-0 Nordonia on the 30th of September. So that's going to be definitely interesting. But Hudson Wadsworth, I mean, it was a battle of defenses, and both teams came to play. It was a very fast start. Hudson came out with 4 straight run plays to their running back Ian Ludwig, I think, and it had a total of 26 yards rushing. And then Jagger Pala, he threw a 54-yard bomb. So I mean, Hudson came out firing. Obviously, they stalled out later in the game, and Wadsworth defense couldn't hold up enough. But if I'm looking at it from the outside, if I'm Hudson, I need to score a little more, and I'm really thankful for how my defense played. And if I'm Wadsworth, the defense really didn't do that bad. They only let up 17 points. It's the offense that needs to step up in that part.
Yeah, we talked to Coach Todd from Wadsworth last week, and he knew this was going to be a tough game coming in. All right, so a really big game to wrap up my recaps. St. Ignatius traveled to Akron to play Hoban. Ignatius came in with this was their first loss. They're now 3-1 as Hoban took the game 28-7. Hoban moves to 5-0 on the season. When you think about Hoban, you obviously think about Lamar Smerling, their awesome running back. And St. Ignatius actually held him to only 21 yards on his first 6 carries. And then he said, that's enough of this, and busted out his next carry. Was an 83-yard touchdown, and it was all downhill from there for Ignatius.
He's Hoban really freaking good.
Oh, he is. He's ridiculous.
He's really freaking good, man.
Hoban led 14-0 at the half. Ignatius only had 55 total yards at halftime. So Ignatius held to 46 rushing yards for the game, only 139 total for the game. Their running back, Stephen Favazzo, only had 45 yards on 13 carries. And their standout quarterback at Ignatius, Joshua Pepish, was held to 11 of 22 for 93 yards. He did have a touchdown pass for their only score. Hoban racked up 369 total yards. 232 of those were from Mr. Sperling. He also added 3 touchdowns to go with that. So big win for Hoban as they moved to 5-0.
Yeah, and then we go to the previews for this upcoming week, and there's a lot of games that are going to shake up a lot of things. A lot of teams, you start getting to that point of the season where teams are in league play, or, for sometimes it's independent teams that are going to shake things up, and we'll get to that. But, you get to that point where teams are in the league play, and normally in league, you're a division or in the same division away from each other. So, a league game can mean more than just the league title for some teams. Sometimes, you're rooting for other things to happen outside of your league so that you can get moved up in the computer rankings. It happens all the time. Happened to me my sophomore year of high school. We wouldn't have gotten in the playoffs without some magic happening on a Saturday. So, I'm excited for this upcoming weekend to kick it off. We got 4-1 Tallmadge, who had a very, very, very easy victory, it seems like, in week 5 against Revere, winning 42-8. As we know, Tallmadge, Brady Hamilton was reporting at the Tallmadge Highland game. And we talked to Coach Mike Hay before that week. And, he said how tough that Highland defense is. And, that it may be one of the best defenses he's seen in the Suburban League and, in the time he's been there. So that's saying something with how prestige that league is. And they're going to play a very, very tough Aurora team who is 4-1, and their only loss being to Riverside in week 2, 21-34. And, we talk about how, Aurora, they're playing a very tough team this upcoming week, but the Suburban League's falling off for them. They definitely got a very easy part of the beginning schedules. Not that any part of the Suburban League's easy, but, they beat a 1-4 Twinsburg team. They beat a 1-4 Copley team, and they beat a 1-4 Cuyahoga Falls team in the past 3 weeks. And their other win is against an 0-5 Euclid team. So, you wonder sometimes when you see the scores they put up in the past 2 weeks, and they've put up 60+ in the past 2 weeks. So, that's a very impressive win. So I'm excited to see how Coach Hayes' offense is going to, pair up against the Green Men's defense.
Definitely. So looking at my first preview team we just talked about, the recaps, Akron Hoban. 5-0. Another tough game, traveling to Walsh Jesuit, who's 4-1 on the season. You look at Hoban's schedule, the teams they beat, a lot of out-of-state teams so far. Football North out of Canada, Cathedral Prep from PA, Iona Prep from New York, and then Withrow from Cincinnati. And then, of course, Ignatius this past week. So, they've had a pretty tough schedule, but they've handled business so far. And obviously, like I said, you think about Hoban, you think about Sperling. And on the season so far through 5 games, he has 1,235 yards. So, very impressive. And their defense, talk about impressive, their defense is very solid, led by defensive end David Bell and a couple linebackers, Ricky Williams and Eli Lee. So they're very solid. And then you look at Walsh, they had wins over Benedictine, Canisius out of New York, Rogers from Toledo, St. Francis Columbus, and their only loss was to McDowell out of Pennsylvania.
It's really good.
Yeah. Their key players, Ryan Kircher, their quarterback, and Justin Bremner, their running back, and a couple wide receivers, Trey Bell and Gabe Gardner. They lost a lot of people from last season, a lot of good players, but they have a big experienced senior class for this season, so that should be a good game.
Yeah, and another great game that I'm excited for is our small school game of the week, sponsored by Daystar Ford. We got the Warren JFK Eagles traveling to Mogadore to play the Mogadore Wildcats. Brady Hamilton will be there at the game reporting live for our game of the week. And we'll have some pictures and videos for you guys as well, as per usual. But Mogadore, coming into the game 5-0. I'm not going to, really dip too much into them because Kevin did talk about them. But, obviously a big focal point with Mogadore is their Division I Ohio University commit Mason Williams. And, if you can stop him a little bit, it definitely makes your life a little easier. Tell you one thing off of film, he looks like a hard kid to stop. And so, it's going to be tough for Coach Prologo to, deal with Mason Williams. But, Warren JFK is coming into the game 5-0 also, beating a tough champion team, a 4-1 Delta team, a 4-1 Cardinal team or Garfield team, a 4-1 Perkins team, and then an 0-5 Marlington team. So a very difficult first 4 games for the JFK Eagles. So, I think this is another great test for them. And then they play Rootstown the week after. So, they're not really catching a break too much in their schedule. But, I'm excited to see how this game fares out.
And up next, we got a battle of a couple 4-1 teams as Alliance travels to Salem. You look at Alliance on the season, they lost their opener versus Lake and then rattled off 4 straight wins over Niles McKinley, Bedford, Norwalk, and Canton Central Catholic. Their quarterback, Brendan Zerberg, has put up some pretty impressive numbers, 73-93, 79% completion percentage on the season so far with 1,015 yards and 10 touchdowns. He's also added 443 yards on the ground with 6 more touchdowns. Running back Caden Davis has 743 yards and 9 touchdowns. And their standout receiver, Ramir Hawkins, 30 catches, 512 yards, and 3 touchdowns so far. Defensively, they're pretty solid. Defensive tackle Aiden Marsden and linebacker Adam Zumbar. Zumbar has 60 tackles and 2 sacks on the season. And Carter Bergara, one of their defensive backs, has 5 interceptions already through 5 games. Looking at Salem, they have wins over Crestview, Beaver, East Liverpool, and Padua. And their only loss was Canton Central Catholic. They just had a thrilling win Friday over Padua. Their kicker, I'm not even going to try to say his last name, Hayden. It's a very long last name. I'm sure I'll butcher it. But he had a 20-yard field goal as time expired for the win over Padua. So pretty exciting stuff there. Their quarterback, Jackson Johnson, actually became Salem's all-time leading rusher this past week. Throwing the ball, he was 13 of 24, 190 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And they also have a record-breaking wide receiver, Blaze Exline, who they had to replace, who graduated last year. They had a couple guys stepping up, Caden Swiger and running back Dominic Mascalo, both returned. And a pair of safeties, Jackson, the quarterback, and Ross Davidson, were very solid. And a pair of senior linebackers, and Ethan Whitman and Brandon Van Horn. So should be a good one out in Salem.
Yeah, I don't think I've been more excited for a week of football than this next game. I'm excited for this, as as people who listen would know. And I coach for university school in Moreland Hills, and it's rivalry against, we say the team up the street, because we play Gilmore Academy this week. It's going to be an exciting atmosphere. I'm stoked for this game. It's going to be a great opportunity for these kids, and I'm excited to see how University School comes out. Obviously University School going into the game 4-1. Gilmore Academy coming into the game 5-0. Gilmore coming down the street to play University at 2:00 on Saturday. And I mentioned when we first got into the previews that this week can shake up a lot. This week can really shake up a lot in playoffs with this matchup. Right now, Gilmore Academy ranked number 6 in Region 9, Division 3, and University School in the same region, same division, and they're ranked 7, so they're right next to each other. And with how computer points work, this can shake up how a lot of playoff seedings, line up. But the medicine to the madness, it seems like, is it's going to be Gilmore stopping University's rushing attack. And it seems Gilmore's got a good team this year. I mean, they are very solid, and I mean, I'm excited to see. I'm really excited to see how this plays out. And you got the two cab kick twins over there, and one playing quarterback, one playing running back, and running back averaging 126.3 rushing yards per game, and the quarterback averaging 221 passing yards per game. So it's going to be tough, but I'm excited to see how things play out, and I hope you guys can make it. I think we're going to try to have 2 reporters at the game. We're going to try, and I know Brady Hamilton's going to be there. Maybe talk the boss man and over here to going, and it's going to be a great time for everybody to be there for.
Definitely big stuff going on there. So last one we got is Chardon Hilltoppers at 4-1, traveling to Kenston, who's also 4-1. This is going to be a pissed off, motivated Chardon team after having their 31 game winning streak snapped by Riverside last week. So they've got the wins over Olmsted Falls, Camden from New Jersey, First Baptist Academy of Florida, and Mayfield, and then of course the loss to Riverside. This past week they held Mayfield to 95 yards total, and they're led by quarterback Alex Henry and running back Daniel Pettyjohn for that potent Chardon offense. Kenston, looking at them, they have wins over Chagrin Falls, Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, Eastlake North, and Lake Catholic, and their only losses to Perry. They're coming off an 11-win season. They went deep into playoffs. Overcame some injuries last year, so they're healthy and trying to see what they can do with a healthy squad. But their key returners, quarterback Nico Giorgio, running back / quarterback Sean Patrick, and Ben DeMarco and Lucas Simmons on defense. So this should be a good one there as well.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I'm really excited because this is where you see those towns and those teams going at it with the rivalries and everything. Because we got league games up now, and even still, you see these independent schools, like Gilmore, like University, having this rivalry right down the street. So it's going to be an exciting weekend. Go Preppers!
Good game for sure.
So who do you got? Who's your picks for game of the week? For games of the week, you got University or Gilmore, and then you got Mogadore or Warren JFK. Who do you think's going to win each game?
Oh, picking winners. I'm going to go with Mogadore, of course. Keep their undefeated season rolling. Then how am I going to go against University School? And you're my co-host, so I guess I got to be biased. We'll go University and Mogadore.
We'll try and get a couple interviews in for you guys this week.
Yeah, and we'll have our players of the week announced this week, and one of them is going to be a no-brainer. If anybody's paid attention, there was a big record broken, so that'll give you a little hint. But looking forward to it.
Most definitely.
Anything else?
I'm all set. Appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah, appreciate it, and we will talk to you guys next week.